All right, if you go with me over to page 82 and 83, we start talking about using percents to allocate overhead expenses. This comes into play quite frequently with utilities and all this and that. What we're going to do is a small example. This is our department store. We have electronics, men's, kids, and we sell stuff. We have women's up here. This is our department store. Our sales are like this. Electronics comes in at 30% of our sales. Men's at 10% of our sales. Kids at 25% of our sales. Women's at 20%. And our stuff comes in at 15%. If we wanted to add up and calculate the amount of floor space given to these, look at this. One of our smaller spaces is accounting for 30% of our sales. Should we increase the floor space, because they have a very small percentage of floor space, should we increase that and increase sales? The thing about electronics is, even if you increased floor space, would you have enough product to cover that additional floor space? You may not need it for electronics. Look at our stuff. Our stuff takes up almost 25% of our floor space, but accounts for only 15% of our sales. We might want to cut this down, right? If they are accounting for 15% of our sales and using over 25% of our floor space, that might be an issue. We might want to increase kids a little bit. We might want to increase women's a little bit. Men's, typically men don't spend a lot of money, so we're probably okay with that, right? But this is how you would need allocation by percentages. On the examples, and again you'll see on page 83 a steps box on how to do this. But let's go real quick and look at example W on page 83. The key to this is sitting in step 2. Step 2 says divide the floor space of each department by the total floor space. So you've got to find the total floor space, which is step 1. So you find the total floor space, divide the floor space of each department by the total floor space. Now example W walks you through it, talks about women's, children's, and men's, gives you floor space was 100 feet by 50, 50 by 60, and 40 by 50. You multiply that out, and you'll see that women's was 5,000 square feet, children's was 3,000 square feet, men's was 2,000 square feet, for a total of 10,000 square feet. You with me? So we got the total square foot of the building. So now we need to take the 5,000 divided by the total floor space, which means women's clothing or whatever it is accounts for 50% of our floor space. You'll see that children, 3,000 square feet divided by 10,000 is 30, and then men's accounts for 20% of our floor space. Now here, you'll see on step 3, multiply each percent in fractional or decimal form by the total rent or overhead. In this case, they are saying the total rent was $15,000. So how much do I charge the women's department in rent based on floor space? I know they're using 50% of my floor space. So I just take 50% times my total rent, which comes out to $7,500. I can do the same for children's. I know they use 30% of my total floor space. I know my rent is still $15,000, so what is 30% of 15,000? 45. And then for men's, I know men's uses 20% of my floor space, which means they're going to be 20% of my $15,000 total rent, which means I'm going to charge my men's department $3,000 a month in rent. This will come into play several times. Utilities, floor space, sales versus floor space versus payroll. What if I have, for example, in example W, this is a what if I have 13 employees working in men's? Now think about it, men's is only accounting for 20% of my floor space. They're accounting for 20% of my rent, but my expenditures on payroll for that one section might be considerable. All right, hope these videos are helping you.